I am Billy the Kid, and although many call me an outlaw, I was just a man who lived by his own rules in a world where life wasn't worth a penny and death lurked at every turn. People often say the West was a land of legend, but few know the truth. And I, Billy the Kid, am the story of that truth. Not the story of glorified heroes or forgotten villains, but the story of those who, like me, simply fought to survive. Before I begin my story, I want to invite you to subscribe to the channel Animated Legends TV. Here we share epic tales, legends that have transcended time, and everything that defines our freedom. Your support is crucial for bringing more stories like this, so don't forget to hit that subscribe button. Now get ready, because my tale is about to begin. My story starts in 1859, when I was born in New York, a city that, back then, was full of opportunities and promises. However, for me, those promises never materialized. People say I was nothing more than a lost boy, an orphan raised in a life of poverty and suffering. But no one, and I repeat, no one can truly understand the weight of that life unless they've lived it. My early years were the darkest and hardest anyone could imagine. My mother, who struggled to keep us going, did the best she could, but the city was no place for people like us, the poor, the forgotten. Life seemed like a constant battle. Things got worse when my mother, desperate and worn out by poverty, decided to move us west. She thought there would be an opportunity to start fresh. But what we didn't know was that the West, with its vast desert, the dust kicked up by horses, and its scorching sun, wasn't a land of hope. It wasn't a place where dreams could be easily found. It was a battleground, a place where men fought not just for land, but for life itself, often running from something or someone. Out there, no one could afford to be weak. And so, at just 13 years old, I found myself facing a life I didn't choose, but had to accept. From a young age, life taught me that in that place, where the law didn't feel like protection but a threat, there was only one way to get ahead: by fighting. I'm not just talking about fighting with weapons, crossing swords or fists. I'm talking about fighting with everything you have, with your heart, with courage, with hands covered in dirt and blood, with a mind always alert and a soul willing to sacrifice. It wasn't just a physical battle, it was a constant struggle for survival, to live another day. The West didn't forgive the weak, and it didn't matter if you had the purest heart. The only thing that mattered was whether you could defend yourself and if you could live to tell your story. Those first encounters marked my future. They were the first pieces of a puzzle that would come together with every step I took. I wasn't just Billy the Kid, the outlaw, the man of legends. I was a man who had been pushed into this life by circumstances, but who fought in each duel for something bigger than himself, for the freedom to be who I was, for the opportunity to live by my own rules. And so, with the desert dust covering my boots and the pistol hanging at my side, I began to build the name that everyone would remember, Billy the Kid. That first shot was an act of survival, not a crime. But the law didn't understand that, and from that moment on, my name became synonymous with danger, with running, with someone who couldn't be stopped. My name was Billy the Kid, but more than just a name, it became a curse that followed me until the end of my days. What few understand is that every shot I fired, every escape I made, wasn't an act of evil, but of resistance. In the Old West, the one who didn't kill was the one who died. Death lurked in every corner, and to survive, you had to become fast, cunning, and above all, determined. My life was never easy, and my fame was never that of a hero. I was known as an outlaw, a killer, but no one understood that my fight was only to be free. Throughout my years, I met many men, some good, some bad, but all fighting for the same thing: survival. The West was a place where the rules weren't clear, where the law was more of a distant concept than a tangible reality, and where men who dared to live in that wild land had to be tough, clever, and sometimes ruthless. I was no exception. In every town I visited, my name was feared and respected. No one knew when Billy the Kid would show up, but everyone knew that if I did, the rules of the game would change. With every step I took, my reputation grew, and with it, my need to escape. A man like me, marked by the past and circumstances, lived a wandering life, always moving, always running. But what no one understood, neither those who pursued me nor those who feared me, was that I wasn't just running from the law. I was running from the life that had been imposed on me, from the weight of a destiny I hadn't chosen, but accepted with the resignation of someone who no longer believes in the possibility of redemption. It was in that wandering life, in that constant escape from what I had become, where I met one of the most important, and perhaps the most decisive, men of my life, Sheriff Pat Garrett. Garrett's name is tied to mine like a shadow. In the years that followed, he became the man who, according to everyone, was supposed to end me. His task wasn't just to stop me, but to finish the legend of Billy the Kid, the legend of a man who had defied the law and death itself with every step he took. For years, I stayed one step ahead of him, outsmarting his ambushes, escaping through deserts and mountains, crossing rivers, and traveling through canyons. Garrett never stopped following me, never gave up, like a rabid dog on its prey. And although many thought that his hatred for me was the only thing that connected us, the truth is, there was something more, something deeper that bound us: mutual respect. What many don't know, what few understand, is that between Garrett and me, there wasn't just hatred, there wasn't just the desire to hunt and be hunted. There was an understanding, a deep respect. Garrett wasn't just a man of the law, he was a man of the West, a man who had seen the same darkness, the same suffering that I had experienced. And although he always stood on the side of the law, he understood the other side of that same coin. He knew that I wasn't just a simple criminal, a killer without reason. I had my own principles, my own rules, the same ones that had kept me alive until then. I didn't consider myself an evil man, far from it. Deep down, like him, I was searching for my place in a world that didn't offer many paths, only struggle and suffering. I knew that to survive, one had to embrace chaos, violence, but never lose humanity, never lose the ability to distinguish between what was just and what was unjust. Each encounter with Garrett wasn't just a physical duel, as many believe, but a mental, psychological battle. The bullets flew, and with them, so did our destiny. Every time we crossed paths, the air would fill with palpable tension, a tension that only the true men of the West, those who have lived on the tightrope between life and death, can understand. The battle wasn't fought just on the battlefield, but in both of our minds. It was about seeing who had the stronger will to withstand the chaos around us, who could move forward in a world crumbling beneath our feet. Garrett wasn't just chasing me as a sheriff chases an outlaw. He was in a personal struggle with me, seeking something beyond capture. It wasn't just his duty guiding him, but his need to put an end to something he saw as a threat to law and order. And I, on the other hand, just wanted to survive, just wanted to be free, even if that freedom meant always living on the edge of death. My life was marked by escape. I always found a way to outwit the law, always one step ahead, always on the move. My steps were as fast as my shots, but despite all my efforts, despite all my escapes, death drew closer inexorably, and I knew it. I knew that at some point, luck would run out. And so it was. In 1881, after a confrontation and a series of betrayals, the fate I had been evading for so many years finally caught up with me. It was in Fort Sumner, in a ranch house, when the outcome came. Garrett, after so many years of chasing me, managed to trap me in an ambush. The end was swift, so fast that many described it as a surprise. A treacherous shot, some say, but I didn't see it that way. In the West, one must not fear death. Death is just another part of life, an inevitable part of existence in such a wild and cruel world. Death is as natural as breathing, as constant as the wind that blows through the plains, and when it arrives, one simply accepts it, not as a defeat, but as one more step in the eternal struggle for survival. In that moment, when the shot rang out and life began to fade from my body, I felt no fear, no regret. I only felt that my time had come, that the cycle of my life, marked by violence and chaos, was about to end. And, as I had always done, I accepted the inevitable. It wasn't the end of Billy the Kid's legend, but the beginning of a new chapter, one that would be written with time, with the voices of those who would tell the story of a young man who became a myth in the land where only the strong survive. But the truth, my friends, is that Billy the Kid didn't die that day. My spirit is still alive because the legend I built will never disappear. People may tell stories, write books, but no one will ever erase what I did, what I represented. I was a free man, a man who lived on his own terms, who fought for what he believed in. And although my body no longer walks these dusty lands, my name is still mentioned in every corner of the West. And now, with this story told from my own lips, I want everyone to understand what it really meant to be Billy the Kid. I wasn't just a simple criminal, a man without direction. No, I was a man who lived to be free, who fought with honor, who respected the rules I imposed on myself, even though the world around me tried to crush me. Life in the West didn't give you many options, and those few it did offer, you took with determination, or you didn't take them at all. In each duel, each confrontation, I wasn't just trying to survive, I was seeking something deeper. I was looking for a purpose in the midst of chaos, a way to understand my place in a world that only pushed me toward the abyss. Over the years, I learned that freedom wasn't something given to you, but something you had to earn with every step you took, with every bullet you fired. And although many saw me as an outlaw, I knew I wasn't fighting against the system, but against destiny itself, a destiny that always chased me with the shadow of the law hanging over my head. My name, Billy the Kid, became a legend, a story passed from mouth to mouth, crossing borders and generations. Some see me as the villain of an old story, a story that's been told 1,000 times, but what they don't understand is that Billy the Kid wasn't just a man. I was a symbol of resistance, an echo of everything the West represented. Constant struggle, survival, the eternal search for something better. What do people remember about me? Maybe they remember the shootouts, the escapes, the flights through the darkness of the night. But there's something else. My struggle not to be pigeonholed, not to be just another victim of a system that never understood my need to be free. At the heart of every man of the West, there is an unbreakable truth. Life can be cruel, but it is yours to live on your own terms. And although my time came to a violent end, my name will never disappear. The legend of Billy the Kid will endure for generations, because freedom, true freedom, is not something you can lose. It's something you leave behind in every footprint, in every story people tell. In the end, I was a man who lived fast, yes, but who never bowed down. And although I fell in the dust of betrayal, sacrifice, and fate, my spirit remains in the winds of the West. Myths, legends, never die. And mine, Billy the Kid's, is one that will always be remembered. So, when someone mentions my name, don't do so as if I were just a ghost of the past. Think of me as the man who fought to the end, the man who, though fallen, never gave up, because the fight, in the heart of a true man of the West, never ends. And now, I leave you with a question for all who have lived the legend of the Old West. What is your favorite Western movie? Let me know in the comments.